Saturday. She's not married, they're not having a baby, and he's not dying. Why has the entertainment beat turned into the Hollywood Walk of Shame? This weekend on Fox News Watch. This Sunday, Bush courts favor for his judicial nominees. We'll have a legal brief. Then it's spy versus spy. Scandal threatens to bring down the FBI. Do we need to investigate the investigators? And is the FBI's credibility MIA? We'll get insight from Senator Patrick Leahy. That's this week on Fox News Sunday. Check your local listing. This is Fox News Live with John Gibson.
It's 5 o'clock in the East, 2 p.m. in Modesto, California. Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Folbaum, in for John Gibson. And coming up in the next hour, our D.C. cops starting to look beyond Gary Condit. We'll go live to Washington for the very latest on the case of missing intern Chandra Levy. And then President Bush having some troubles pushing his agenda. We're going to talk about that. What's going on here? Plus, we'd like your advice for the president. What should he do to get his message across? Give us a call. Our number, 1-888-TEL-FOX. And then with 401ks turning into 201ks, what can you do to survive the money game? We'll have the very latest from the world of high finance. And we begin with the investigation into the disappearance of Chandra Levy. Gary Condit interviewed for a fourth time, answering questions from the FBI, while one of Condit's colleagues calling on the people of Modesto to decide what happens in their district. Fox News correspondent James Rosen, live in Washington, in our newsroom there with the details. Hi, James.
Hey there, Rick. Where the disappearance of missing intern Chandra Levy is concerned, investigators may be losing interest in Congressman Condit. The FBI lab found nothing of interest in the materials that police seized from Condit's home earlier this month, according to published reports today. And D.C. police now say that the 7-term California Democrat, quote, is not the central figure of this investigation. That word coming after Thursday's session between FBI profilers and D.C. cops and Congressman Condit, held at the office of Condit's lawyer, Abby Lowell. Sources tell Fox News the session was not confrontational, sharply limited in their questioning in advance by Lowell. Investigators focused instead on any details about Levy that could reveal her state of mind when she disappeared almost 3 months ago, and they did not reportedly ask about allegations that Condit obstructed the search for Levy or used any of his aides to do so.
We're not going to talk about the details of what was discussed. All cards are still on the table in terms of interviews and other people that we're talking to, and we're just going to continue to pursue this case.
In a Fox News Opinion Dynamics poll, almost half of those surveyed said they would believe in Condit's innocence if he takes and passes a lie detector test supervised not by his own attorney, but by law enforcement officers. For his part, Condit continues to attend hearings held by the Agriculture Committee on which he serves. On Thursday, he actually had to leave such a hearing to attend that profiling session with the FBI. The top Democrat in the House, Minority Leader Dick Gephardt, while not rushing to Condit's defense, plays down talk of resignation, suggesting that such a decision ought to be made next year by Condit's constituents.
We need to figure out what it means to the House, and Gary is going to face his voters in a year and a half, and that is the political process that we all face. Our contract gets upped or re-upped or not re-upped every 2 years.
But it's bad news for Congressman Condit if residents of Modesto share the sentiments expressed by the nation at large in a new Fox News Opinion Dynamics poll. Roughly half say the Blue Dog Democrat is, quote, acting guilty, with less than 20% saying he's acting like an innocent man. Finally, Rick, D.C. police are giving recruits this weekend off, but they will be back at work on Monday to resume their physical search of Rock Creek Park and other areas here in the nation's capital. Reporting live from Washington, James Rosen, Fox News. Rick?
James, this investigation just goes on and on and on. What role are the congressman's aides playing? I know a couple of them have actually spoken to law enforcement. Are there any options for them to talk to police again?
Yeah, they may very well wind up talking to police again. At least 2 aides, Rick, 2 Congressman Condit have attracted investigators' attention. First, there is administrative aide Mike Dayton. He is believed to have been driving the car when Condit traveled from his D.C. apartment to Virginia, allegedly to discard a watch box a few hours before police searched that apartment. The watch was a gift from 29-year-old Jolene McKay, a staff assistant for Condit in the mid-1990s, who claimed she had an affair with Condit and who also claims that Dayton told her that disclosure of that affair would, quote, ruin her. Then also very quickly, there was Condit's California Chief of Staff, Mike Lynch. He is alleged to have made an unsolicited telephone call to Anne Marie Smith, another woman who enjoyed a relationship with Condit, just one day after the Levy story broke. Smith saying that Lynch referred her to Condit's West Coast legal team, which soon afterwards produced what Smith says was a false affidavit denying their 10-month-long affair that law office asked her to sign. Rick?
James, real quickly, I know you've had a chance to follow Congressman Condit around on Capitol Hill. Is he showing any signs that he's the most scrutinized, most watched man in the Capitol right now?
Except for the fact that he doesn't say very much, no. He goes about his business. I've had a chance to observe him in the private dining hall where other members would eat, and while they don't sit right next to him at the table, they sit at the same table with him and chat cordially. Same goes for when Congressman Condit appears on the House floor to cast his votes. Other Democrats are not shy about coming up to him. He's not being treated like a leper per se. He's not acting like one, except for his public silence, which has gone on now, as you know, for the length of this case, about 3 months. Rick?
James Rosen in Washington. James, thanks very much. More on this story coming up in just a little bit. Let's first get a check on some of the other stories making headlines today, and for that we go to Daria Alexander at the Fox News desk. Hi, Daria.
Hi, Rick. Good to see you, and hello to everyone. The U.S. and China are closer to solving some differences when it comes to military matters. After meeting with China's president and foreign minister in Beijing, Secretary of State Colin Powell says he was able to, quote, move the ball forward on U.S. concerns about Chinese exports of missile and weapons technology. He also gave assurances that the U.S. Missile Defense Initiative does not pose a threat to China. President Bush plans to visit China in October. Riots broke out in Belfast following a word of an agreement to save Northern Ireland's peace plan. Hundreds of rioters took to the streets, pelting police with gas bombs, stones, and bottles. Dozens of people were injured in hand-to-hand fighting, and one person was hit when a gunman opened fire on a crowd. The operation to raise the sunken Russian submarine Kursk is ready to get underway. Organizers say the safety review is complete, insisting the risk of a nuclear leak is minimal. The lifting operation is set to begin very soon, depending on weather conditions. The Kursk sank last August, killing all 118 crew members. And China's first ever title boxing match has been dealt a knockout blow. Heavyweight champ John Ruiz was set to face former champ Evander Holyfield, but Ruiz dropped out, saying he has a stiff neck. No new date has been set for the fight. And finally, some tubby tabbies competing in Taiwan. Their owners are looking to see who's got the fattest cat. That looks like it. The winner was a six-year-old male cat named Mimi, weighing in at 31 pounds. Mimi used to be an alley cat, and now he's living a life of luxury, sleeping more than 16 hours a day, a lot more than we ever see. Look at that belly, incredible. Those are some of the stories making headlines at this hour. Now back to Fox News Live with Rick Folbaum, who is filling in for John Gibson.
That can't be healthy for the cat to be that big.
It cannot be healthy, but I have to tell you that I have a cat that is almost as fat. He was an alley cat, too. I think that they just like to eat because they were living on the streets.
All right, Daria, thanks very much. Daria Alexander. President Bush now, who doesn't seem to be able to catch a break. His agenda not exactly getting across the way that he'd hoped, and some of his fellow Republicans are actually teaming up with Democrats to oppose some of his policy initiatives. And the headlines continue to be dominated by another story on Capitol Hill. You know what that is. Fox News White House correspondent Wendell Goler has more.
19 Republicans joined most House Democrats to give the president his second Capitol Hill setback in as many days.
The bottom line is that the United States standard for arsenic should not be amongst the worst in the world.
EPA Administrator Christy Whitman is promising tighter standards by February, but says the 10 parts per billion level the Clinton administration set was not based on sound science. On Thursday, the Senate moved toward tough new safety rules for Mexican trucks the White House fears would force a violation of NAFTA.
The staff continues to recommend a veto to the president, and the president is going to continue to work to fix it in conference.
His recent dealings with Capitol Hill may have left the president chafing at his promise to change the tone in Washington.
I hope a week from tomorrow the Congress takes off and gives all of us a break.
His aides had carefully planned this summer's agenda to show the compassion of Mr. Bush's conservatism, but new Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle has been pursuing other objectives.
You really want me to pick another fight, don't you?
The president wants an education bill by the start of school in the fall, But the Senate version costs billions more than the House bill does, billions more than he wants to spend. Mr. Bush wants to give people more power to challenge their HMOs, but Republican moderates in the House are backing a bill Mr. Bush says would mainly benefit lawyers. And the White House has backed away from the call for a vote to be held by next week.
The president is less interested in the exact timing of the vote and much more interested in getting the job done and complete.
Both the president and Congress will take their summer recess in a week, and Mr. Bush says he'll recharge his batteries during a month at his Texas ranch.
I love to go walking out there, seeing the cows. Occasionally they talk to me. Being the good listener that I am.
Barring some breakthroughs next week, Mr. Bush's legislative agenda will be on hold until September, but then it will compete for Congress's attention with the spending bills lawmakers must pass by October 1st. At the White House, Wendell Goller, Fox News.
All right, so why is the president having such a tough time pushing his agenda? Joining us now from Washington, Margie Amero, president of Momentum Analysis, a Democratic research firm. Hi, Margie. And Matt Keelan, a GOP consultant and founder of Keelan Communications Incorporated.
Hey, Rick,
how are you?
Good. Doing well.
All right, Margie, your first words on this subject. Go ahead.
Well, I think Bush is accomplishing one of his campaign goals, which is bipartisanship in the House and Senate. Unfortunately, it's all against his proposals.
Matt, your first words on all this.
Well, he's passed his tax cut bill, bipartisan, and I think the education bill will be passed quite soon, and it'll be bipartisan as well. So we're pretty happy with his performance so far.
Okay, if you'll both stand by, straight ahead on Fox News Live, more with our guests, and then we'll give you a chance to help Mr. Bush. You can be a presidential advisor, or at least you can pretend to be one anyway. What suggestions would you have to help him get his agenda moving? Our number, as always, 1-888-TEL-FOX. We want to hear from you. Give us a call. We'll be right back.
1 part tulip, 2 parts French vanilla. Add 1 whitewash shutter. Mix 1 quart lazy afternoon. Stir in 1 cup sunshine and a pinch of fresh sand. Serves 1 or a family of 6. Introducing Swedish Home by Ethan Allen. All the ingredients you need to make an elegantly simple home.
Grab it! Sledge grab it mix. Does it grab it? It grabs the dust. It holds it. This is fabulous. Your hand is the tool.
It's getting into places where dust wouldn't get into.
You feel it grabbing.
It picks up the dust.
Hair and dirt. Sledge grab it mix. Grabs the dirt.
It's getting into the cracks, the crevices, these little corners.
God forbid I should have a manicure, it would actually protect it. Toss it right in the garbage. Sledge grab it mix.
S.C. Johnson, a family company.
The dust is in the mix.
Sir, just recently you added the new rides to the Adventure Dome at an unprecedented cost, new restaurants, and a great deal of money on new deluxe rooms. I know you don't want to raise prices, but as your accountant, something's got to give.
Shelley, send in the new accountant.
At Circus Circus Las Vegas, high prices are not an option. Take it from the chief.
Sunday, tax rebates enough to save the economy?
It's time to kill off some conventional wisdom.
Don't miss the next Forbes on Fox. Then NASDAQ taking a dive. Will it hit 1,000?
Well, don't make a move without Stock Smart.
Find out how to protect your assets on Cashin' In. This weekend, it pays to watch. Powerful business.
Oh, it's great to be on your show, Neil. I tell you, everybody on Capitol Hill gets their business news from Cavuto.
Fox means business. Your world with Neil Cavuto.
We're back. We're talking about the president's agenda, how well he's getting it out there. Margie Amero is joining us, president of Momentum Analysis, a Democratic research firm. Matt Keelan, a GOP consultant, founder of Keelan Communications Incorporated. And Margie, let's start with you. Your group is called Momentum Analysis. Do you think the president's lost the momentum, and why?
Oh, he's actually been sliding on the momentum now for a good couple weeks, and a lot of it has to do, really, the Jeffords thing just put the whole Republican agenda, and him switching parties, but the whole Republican agenda in jeopardy, because now it gives moderates an opportunity to say, I really don't agree with you on a lot of these issues. It gives moderate Republicans the confidence to stand up to the administration. It's a great thing.
Matt, looking at the New York Times this morning, it really seemed like Congress is trying to push the president right out of the White House. A couple of headlines. Lawmakers rebuff Bush. House rejects Bush's plan. Are things really that bad for President Bush?
Well, if you take a look at his poll numbers, they have come back over the last 10 days. And really, on the big issues of his campaign, tax cuts, education, energy policy, he's pushing the ball forward. This is a 4-year term. He's not going to get everything done in 6 months. And obviously, the Jeffords switch was a setback.
And what about the latest, if I can just stay with Matt for a second? We've got these environmental initiatives. We've got the Patient's Bill of Rights that's still stolen. We've got the stem cell research debate that's still going on. How do you grade the president and how he's handled those things?
I think he's been very thoughtful. The Patient's Bill of Rights is a tough issue, obviously. But as a small business owner, and Margie, I'm sure you're concerned about this too, with your employees, I don't want to be sued for providing health coverage. The fact that he's standing up for us as small business people, I'm very proud of him for that.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what else might be pushing his agenda off the front pages. Margie, how big of a problem is it that the Chandra Levy story has got everybody's attention? If not on the front pages, at least it is dominating the news, isn't it? And I'm wondering how much of a problem that is for the White House.
Well, I think it's really a problem for everybody. I mean, it's not just the White House, it's Congress as well. It's just difficult for everybody. There's only so much political news that people want to absorb, and a lot of it is the Chandra Levy case, political, however political that may be. It's just pushing everybody off the front pages, at least a little bit. So I think it makes the White House suffer, but I think that suffering is really all around.
It's hurting the Democrats too, Margie?
Well, only in the sense that in terms of airtime. I think it's foolish for the Republicans to try and use the Chandra Levy case as a way to campaign against Democrats. It didn't work with the impeachment, and it's certainly not going to work in this case.
All right, Matt, are Republicans going to do that? We heard about a memo that was sent out to Republican lawmakers last week saying that perhaps the Democrats were having a tough time pushing their agenda because of attention that was being paid to Gary Condit. Is that the truth? Do you find that as well, and do you think it's a good tool for Republicans to use?
I think Margie's right that everything in Washington, D.C. right now is focused on Gary Condit and Chandra Levy. I don't think you'll see many Republican politicians and consultants coming out and slamming Gary Condit. I think it was Ronald Reagan or one of those great politicians that said, when somebody is in the middle of hanging themselves, let them do it.
I've seen a lot of Republicans coming out and trying to paint all Democrats with this Chandra Levy brush.
Margie, let me ask you real quickly a question for both of you before we run out of time. Where do the Democrats smell the most blood? On what issues do they really feel like they've got the president on the ropes?
Well, I think the environment is really the clearest issue of that for a couple of reasons. First, because it's such a disconnect from public opinion. Polls have shown for years and continue to show that the environment is increasing in terms of priority. People are behind in all the regulations, or nearly all the regulations that Bush opposes. And that's something that is really clearly important to people. And so not only does Bush seem out of sync with the American public, he seems completely in sync with extraction industries and oil executives.
All right, hold on. Matt, real quickly before we run out of time, we're going to ask our viewers to give the president some advice. Why don't you give the president some advice real quickly on how he can get his agenda back at front and center?
I think he needs to come out and talk to the American people more. When George Bush speaks to the American people, his poll numbers go up, his issue numbers go up, and for the most part, he has not taken a lead on TV and on the radio, much like Bill Clinton did, to push the agenda.
And Margie Amero, thank you both. Nice to talk to you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And straight ahead, is the Bush agenda losing its oomph? If you think so, how would you advise the president to seize the day and seize the issues? Give us a call. Our number, 1-888-TEL-FOX. Also, how's your 401k doing? Have you checked it out lately? Our very own Terry Keenan will be here to pass along some tips from the pros on how to hang on to what you've got. And if you can't get through on our phone lines, try emailing us. Our email address, live@foxnews.com.
You're watching Fox News Live with John Gibson.
A fair and balanced report is coming up next.
You know, when you apply for a loan in today's economy, it's nice to have the confidence that your credit is good.
especially when you need a new home, car, or other essential. But sometimes inaccuracies do appear in your credit report, and that's why it's so important to stay on top of your credit by checking your report from time to time. Now it's easy and it's free. To get a free copy of your credit report, simply log on to freecreditreport.com. Act now. Get your free credit report by logging on to freecreditreport.com today.
Got your Pop-Tarts?
Yeah, got it. Got my toaster strudel? Of course. When are you going to get your own toaster strudel?
Pillsbury Toaster Strudel. Like Pop-Tarts, only better. Warm, flaky pastry, juicy fruit filling, and do-it-yourself icing.
So, what do you do with all those Pop-Tarts?
Something better just popped up in your grocer's freezer.
Pillsbury Toaster Strudel.
Are you near a phone? Can you take down a number? Then call to find out about term life insurance at competitive rates from a respected insurer, Protective Life Insurance Company. A 35-year-old could get a $200,000 policy for less than $14 a month. A 40-year-old could get a $250,000 policy for less than $18 a month. For your free quote, call now. Matrix Direct, 1-800-728-3117.
Primary pulmonary hypertension, or PPH, is a life-threatening disease. Flolan, UT15, and lung transplants are beneficial treatments. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with PPH, that is primary pulmonary hypertension, you may be entitled to compensation. If you have been diagnosed with PPH, call the law offices of James Sokolov at 1-800-550-8489. That's 1-800-550-8489.
The equipment that the Navy has is state-of-the-art.
A lot of the equipment that I work with is leading technology.
I spent most of my Navy career working in satellite communications.
I actually went through 15 months of school.
Been through very extensive training in mathematics, physics, chemistry.
They train you to be the best, and they expect you to be the best.
It probably would have cost me around $25,000 for the total amount of training I went through.
My parents were very excited that the Navy was going to pay for 4 years of college.
College professors come aboard to teach us while underway.
I am 2 courses away from my criminal justice degree.
What you've seen is just part of the story. Call this number now for your free 12-minute video and see how the Navy can jumpstart your life. Check out the jobs, training, and money for college that are waiting for you.
My Navy experience allowed me to step right into a respectable and fun job.
Navy, accelerate your life.
All right, welcome back. Time to go to the phones now, with the White House losing some momentum on issues like a patient's Bill of Rights and arsenic in drinking water. The Bush agenda's been stumbling a little bit, according to some people. All right, so you are the president's advisor. What advice would you give him to help him get his message back front and center? 1-888-TEL-FOX is our number, and our first caller on the line is John in Florida. John, first of all, congratulations on your new job as being one of the president's advisors.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Sure.
I'm one of the 537 who voted for George Bush, and I think he's doing a great job all around. I would say speak publicly more often, but to answer your question with with some humor, my advice would be, give me more money. I'm listening.
Did you get your check yet, by the way, from the IRS? You got your $300 or $600 if you're married?
No, sir. I was in the military before, so I was tax exempt for quite a bit of it, but my girlfriend has, and, it's not a lot of money, but it's something, and it helps.
It helps, and do you think it'll have the effect that the president was hoping for to jumpstart this economy? We're going to be talking about the economy in a little bit with Terry Keenan. Do you think it's going to help out in that respect?
I think so. We're going to use our check to pay debt, and I think maybe a majority will do that.
All right, John, who's very happy with the president. Thanks very much. Let's go to Arizona now. And Bill, you're on the line. And Bill, you're one of the president's advisors. What do you tell him?
Well, I'm going to tell him to moderate his views, I'd say.
How so?
Well, he's going to have to come to the middle. He campaigned as a moderate, compassionate conservative. So he's got to come to that again, and then he'll gain his headline.
You don't think that he's been compassionate? I mean, he's talked about these faith-based initiatives and a number of other issues that have not convinced you that the president is a compassionate conservative?
Well, I think that he can do better at selling that. In Arizona, there's a move to oust McCain. There's the hard right trying to take over the headlines here. I think that that's a big mistake. 4 years from now, they're going to need these moderates.
All right, and it's the moderates who are causing the president some headaches, moderates in Congress who are jumping over and lining up with the Democrats on a couple of issues. Bill, thanks for the call. Let's go to New York now. And Kyle, you're up next. Kyle, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. All right, so you're one of the president's advisors. You're talking about momentum, his agenda. What's your advice for him?
I think you should take a page out of the playbook of First Lady Laura Bush and use the White House as a backdrop, because I think it's an effective bully pulpit. And if you actually look at the polls, they did a 180 on Patient Bill of Rights. Once he came out with his message, if you look at the latest Gallup poll, the Fletcher bill is much more popular than the McCain version.
So you think he needs to have some more Rose Garden press conferences, that kind of thing?
Not necessarily a press conference. He can sit down one-on-one, you know, maybe have the first pets there, you know, give a more presidential backdrop and really use that as an effective bully pulpit, because all of us are very patriotic, and if your president's asking you to believe in something because he believes in it, that's a strong message.
Kyle, thanks very much for the call. Kathy in Ohio, you're up next. Hi, Kathy.
Hi.
Happy Sunday.
Thank you.
Go ahead. What's your advice for President Bush?
Well, I think he's doing a fabulous job, first of all. I think people are very quick to criticize him, but if you look at what he's done in the last 6 months, it is a lot more than even Bill Clinton did in the first 2 years of his administration. I've worked for George Bush's his campaign. I used to live in Florida, and I worked down there on his campaign. And I just think he's doing a fabulous job. think he needs to come out, though, and speak to the American people, bypass the press, and go right to the American people, because too many times things that he says are misconstrued by the three networks, and you know who I'm talking about. And I think once he talks directly to the American people and gives them his message, it's going to really make a difference.
All right, Kathy, thanks for the call, and thanks for not correcting me. It's Saturday, of course, not Sunday. Catherine from New York, how you doing?
Hi. I'd like to say, if I could speak to Mr. Bush, that I think that he should be much more centrist. I think that in many people's eyes, and many people I speak to in New York, he did not win the election. He has no mandate to be so far to the right. In addition, if he's willing to raise arsenic levels in the water, actually in issue after issue, he shows that he's aligned with big business at our expense, and this is just not acceptable.
All right,
Thank
Catherine
you.
from New York, and thanks to all of our callers. We appreciate your views, whatever they are. Straight ahead on Fox News Live, Gary Condit, interviewed for a fourth time about Chandra Levy. What would you, if you were running the investigation, what would you do? Give us a call, 1-888-TEL-FOX. That's our next question, in case you didn't get through this time. Plus, our economy sagging a bit, stock market struggling a bit. What can you do to keep your wallet full and your 401k from the bottom dropping out there? Fox's Terry Keenan coming up next. Plus, Jonathan Seri live in Condit Country, Modesto, California. Jonathan.
Rick, just moments ago, protesters clashed in front of the congressman's office. We will have a live report coming up.
Enjoy something made better with time. Slow roast coffee from Maxwell House. It's worth spending time with.
Out here, I'm in command. So am I supposed to say, slow down, guys, I'm constipated? I don't think so. You try to eat right. Sometimes you can't. Harsh chemical laxatives, they can kick in whenever and wherever. Not an option. So I rely on doctor-recommended Metamucil. It's got 100% natural fiber. Works with my body, gently, which is important to a sensitive guy like myself.
Metamucil, the doctor's natural choice for regularity. Now, back to the Guy Game. Okay, Cliff, for a chance to win 12 hours in a hot tub with our Guy Game girl, who delivered this pizza?
It's Luigi's Pizzeria!
No trick question. Huh? It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Sorry, Cliffy.
For fresh baked pizza at home, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Get him out of here.
Throw away the wrinkle cream. Leave the vitamins at home. Cast your cholesterol score to the wind. And if you see the Surgeon General, buy him a shot. Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas. Call now for special room rates.
This is Florence Henderson. Join me in the fight against breast cancer. Register today for City of Hope's Walk for Hope against breast cancer. Call 800-266-7920 or visit our website at walk.coh.org.
Saturday, Russia says a plan for fewer arms is at hand. Can Bush trust Putin, or is the U.S. defense playing Russian roulette? Barnes and Kondracki are the Beltway boys this weekend.
Looking at a live picture right now, and there's no police presence down here.
The gunman on the loose.
The chase is on.
Still this is our job, and we're going to stick with it. Lit himself on fire. Get the close-ups, we can get everything we need. The people on the ground don't even know we're there.
More of your phone calls in just a couple of minutes. Our question, what would you do if you were running the Chandra Levy investigation? Our number 1-888-TEL-FOX. Meantime, dueling protests in Condit country as supporters and critics of the California congressman do some verbal sparring. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seri live in Modesto, California. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Rick. There were protesters on both sides. One group claiming that the congressman needs to resign because he can't be trusted. Another group saying that he's being unfairly portrayed in the media and should stay in office. Just moments ago, both groups clashed right here in front of the congressman's office.
How dare you support the man who misled the police in an investigation of a missing person?
You don't live in this county.
I represent
You're the fourth grade mentality from Fresno again.
Chandra Levy's parents live in this town. How dare you spit in their face? Go home. You don't deserve to serve. You don't deserve to serve.
I'm here to support Gary Condit. He's not been convicted of anything. His lawyer tells him he can't speak. And then they say go. So if he comes, he's in a catch-22. I know that for him as character, I believe, this is my own personal opinion, that when everything comes out, it'll show the truth.
But others disagree. Don Vance, a friend of the Levys, spent the day collecting signatures on a petition calling on the congressman to resign.
There are enough facts on the table to call for his resignation. And the prime fact is that he impeded the search, perhaps fatally, for Chandra Levy by not coming forward initially, telling everything that he knew.
Meanwhile, Robert and Susan Levy worry as more time goes by, but they're still holding out hope for their daughter's safe return.
Yeah, it's just same old nightmare, you know, continuing, and just sometime we hope to see something, you know, that helps us as far as finding her.
The Levys and their friends are now offering more than $200,000 to anyone who comes forward with information leading to Chandra Levy's safe return. Rick, back to you.
Jonathan, we heard all those people calling on the congressman to resign. Is there any indication at all that he's actually listening, that he's actually even considering a resignation at this point?
Well, you know, once you go above the grassroots level, there are very few calls, at least not from the Democrats, and that's because of the politics of this region. Although Condit himself is a Democrat, this is a very conservative part of California, and so the Democratic Party, the local Democratic Party, is afraid that if Condit goes, they go, at least as far as this particular seat is concerned, so they're being quite quiet.
What about the locals? I mean, of course, we see the protesters out in front of the congressman's office, but certainly it's a big town. Are there a lot of people that are making a lot of noise all over, or is it really just sort of small pockets in certain places?
It really is small pockets. What you saw here on tape is just one city block. The rest of the city, it was pretty much business as usual. In fact, there was a Civil War celebration that went on a couple hours ago. They were firing off a big cannon. People here at the demonstration were startled. They thought that maybe it had something to do with the demonstration, but no, it did not. It was just business as usual here in Modesto.
And Jonathan, I understand it was only a couple of weeks ago that you really couldn't walk anywhere without hearing people talking about the Chandra Levy story.
That's true. We're comparing it, this week's farmer's market, to that of several weeks ago. You would walk through the farmer's market and everyone was talking about Condit, 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 wherever you were walking. Today it was about all the fresh fruits and vegetables.
All right, Jonathan Seri in Modesto, California. Thanks very much, Jonathan. We appreciate it. Sure. Now let's get a check on some of the other stories that are making headlines this Saturday, and for that we go to Daria Alexander at the Fox News Desk. Hi again, Daria.
Hi, Rick, and hello to all of you.
Firefighters out west are fighting to get some big fires under control. A blaze in Wyoming has grown to more than 3,700 acres since Sunday, and the forecast today calls for wind and dry weather. About 100 multi-million-dollar homes have escaped the damage. In Southern California, firefighters hope to have a wildfire near the Cajon Pass under control by this evening. It's about 60% contained. So far, no one's been injured and no buildings have been damaged. Meantime, work was completed today on a major project aimed at bolstering California's water supply. It took a year and a half to dig through and build this section of a 44-mile-long island feeder project. Authorities say the pipe is needed because the water is in the north while the majority of people live in the south. When the pipe is completed in another 5 years, it will service 20 million customers. Airline prices may be coming down now that the merger between United Airlines and U.S. Airways is being called off. Analysts say consumers will likely benefit because ticket sales have been lagging, forcing carriers to lower prices. Federal regulators had opposed the merger, saying it would lead to reduced competition. A robotic space mission is set to collect tiny pieces of the sun. If all goes well, Genesis will launch from Cape Canaveral on Monday and head for deep space. Scientists are hoping to capture bits of stardust carried by solar wind. This will be the first mission to collect extraterrestrial material from beyond the moon. The satellite will return to Earth in 2004. Our next update is at the top of the hour. Now back to Rick Folbaum, who's in for John Gibson, and more Fox News Live.
Dari, thanks very much. With the economy and the market misbehaving, what can the average Joe do to stay in the game? Fox News senior business correspondent and the host of Cashin' In, Terry Keenan, joins us now with more. Terry, thanks for coming in. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, it's been a crummy year for stocks. At least it feels like it has. How bad has it been, really?
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, who would have thought here at the end of July we'd be looking at another terrible year after what we went through last year? I mean, almost every market strategist on the street said this is going to be an up year for stocks. I mean, we have the Fed cutting interest rates. That usually helps stocks. A lot of people thought that the economy was going to start to recover by now. It hasn't happened, and therefore it's really been a terrible year for stocks. The Nasdaq's down another 18%. The Dow's kind of gone nowhere, but it's still down 3%. And most importantly, it's been a year where you really had to pick your stocks because some of the biggest name stocks that a lot of us own have had a really crummy year. GE down 8%. We also had Cisco down 52% just since January 1st, Lucent down 52%. A couple other names have had a good year, like IBM and AOL.
And a lot of these companies also layoffs. They're announcing layoffs as well. In addition to their stock performing poorly, people are losing their jobs.
They are, you know, and that's a consequence of what is going on in the economy. We got the GDP numbers, which shows the growth in this economy. It grew at the slowest pace in almost 10 years. In the second quarter, and companies are laying off. We had, I think, 42,000 layoff announcements just on Thursday and Friday, and of course that makes it all the more important that you save for retirement and really put that nest egg aside.
All right, well, speaking of retirement, 401ks. Now, a lot of us, we may not own individual stocks, but we contribute to our 401ks, and the 401ks consist of stocks, a lot of stock holdings. What's happened with 401ks?
Well, that's been part of the problem because in the great bull market of the last 5 or 6 years, a lot of people put all of their 401k savings into the stock market. As a result, the assets in 401ks actually shrank last year. And I don't know about you, but a lot of people saw their 401ks go down last year, even as you put in money. And, you know, it's kind of a miscalculation on some people's part of putting too much into the stock market. You can also put money into a bond fund or a money market fund. And I guess the lesson here is that diversifying really pays off, especially in a bear market, which is what we're in for the Nasdaq.
So what do we do? I mean, for those of us who were eager to jump in on the market when things were going so well, now we look at the situation and we're a little scared.
Well, you know, it's interesting because stocks are one of the few things people want to buy when the price goes up. You don't go into a store and say, oh my God, prices have gone up, I want to buy. But that's what happens in the stock market. Right now, there's a great sale on a lot of stocks. And this bear market may play out for 6 months or so, but you pick your opportunities and take a look at some of those stocks that are trading below the average for a lot of stocks over time and hold on to them for a while and you'll do well.
What are analysts telling you, though, as far as stocks are concerned? Are there different sectors that look better right now than others if you're looking for a bargain?
Well, you know, technology and telecom and all those big telecom names like the Ciscos and the Lucents that provide all the fiber have just really cracked up, down 80% in some cases. And a lot of those companies aren't seeing a recovery until maybe next year. The stock market usually discounts these things 6 months ahead of time, so you might want to wait a little on those stocks.
You know what's become so obvious for somebody who is a casual observer of the market like I am is that all of this is cyclical. I mean, one thing affects another thing, affects another thing. You've got layoffs, and that affects consumer confidence, and everything is all interconnected.
It is, and typically the stock market is the first thing to turn around. So keep an eye on the stock market. That might tell you when the job picture is going to turn around and when the economy is going to turn around. But, you know, it looks like rough sledding here maybe for the next couple of months.
All right, Terry, thanks very much. And if you like what you've heard, and how could you not, Terry Keenan has a lot more information to pass on. You can catch her on Cashin' In tomorrow morning, 10:30 Eastern Time. Terry, thanks again for coming. All right, from one business show to another, Fox News senior business correspondent Brenda Butner has a look at what's coming up on Bulls and Bears. Brenda.
Hey there, Rick. Well, here's what we've got coming up on Bulls and Bears at the bottom of the hour. First up, a market on the edge. Stocks looked like they were falling off a cliff early in the week, only to climb back in a midweek rally. So where does this cliffhanger go from here? We'll ask the Bulls and Bears. And knowing when to sell a stock can make you as much money as knowing when to buy it. The chart man tells you what stocks to get rid of right now. And the checks are in the mail. That's right, your tax rebate. But what should you do with it? We'll have a shopping list of stocks for you to deposit your check into. Plus, of course, all the Bulls and Bears have their predictions. So don't forget, all that's coming up at the bottom of the hour. But right now, back to you, Rick.
All right, Brenda, thank you very much. And straight ahead on Fox News Live, 3 months and 4 Gary Condit interviews later, and investigators appear to be no closer to solving the Chandra Levy mystery. So what would you do if you were in charge of the case? Where would you look? Who would you talk to? Give us a call. You can talk to us. 1-888-TEL-FOX is the number.
Excuse me, I lost the black carry-on. I turned around and it was completely gone.
Did you have the bag inside?
I just got off the plane. It's got a lot of cash in it.
I can't help you.
I'm on vacation. I don't...
Okay.
I have nothing.
There's nothing I can do for you until you fill out the paperwork.
It was absolutely right here.
Okay.
All my money is in this bag.
Until you file a report, I cannot help you. I need your name and a description of the bag.
American Express travelers checks don't leave home without them.
Would you like to lower your monthly mortgage payments or use the equity in your home to consolidate your credit card or other debts? Just log on to ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED. Today's low fixed rate with 0 points is only 6.990%. Lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. It's smart money from ditech.com. For fast, friendly service, apply online or call 1-800-71-FIXED right now.
To you, it's a PC, but to your kids, it's a laboratory, a museum, or a rainforest. The compact Presario 5000T with Intel Pentium 3 processor. It's the place where your child can explore a world of ideas. And it's just $889. Let us build one for you. Call 1-800-331-8154 today and get a compact printer for just $1 more. Hey, why just take your kids to school when you can take them farther than they ever dreamed?
It was a tragedy that took 230 lives. We investigate the crash of TWA Flight 800. If the case is closed, why do questions remain?
The notion that someone could shoot the plane down with a missile was not that far-fetched.
We talked to former FBI investigator Robert Kallstrom. Then, how safe is air travel?
We found cracked wire, chafed wire, broken wire.
We have a shocking report. Plus,
there is never going to be closure.
It's the family still trying to cope with their loss. Join us for a Fox News Channel special, The Tragedy of TWA 800.
As far as I know, our last phone calls that seem to be coming from specific phone number. With Condit. So, and a good friend, if he's a good friend, he'd come forward and care that a good friend and a constituent is missing.
The Levies yesterday afternoon. Time to go to the phones now. Gary Condit sat through a 4th interview, this time with the FBI, and so far, no new leads. So now we want to put you into the shoes of the investigators. If you were running the show, what would you do? who would you talk to right now at this point in the case? Our number, 1-888-TEL-FOX, and our first caller is Joe in Georgia. Hey, Joe, how are you?
Rick, great. You got a great network. Rick, first thing I would do is interview all of the candidates, give them a real scrutiny. They've got to know more, and I think you're going to see a tremendous amount of congressmen coming out and asking him to resign in the next couple of weeks.
You think so? You think he should do it, too?
Yes, sir, I certainly do.
Let me go back to your question about the aides. Do you think that the investigators should give any of them, prosecutors should give any of the aides immunity so that they can really come out and tell everything they know?
Yes, I think probably so, because we've been talking about this thing for 3 months. Something needs to be done. Yes, I would give them immunity and get them to talk and find out what's going on in this case.
All right, Joe from Georgia, thanks very much for the call. Let's go to Minnesota now. And David, you're on the line. Go ahead, David.
Yes, I would like to go through his campaign fund finance records and see whether or not it's possible that he drew out enough money to hire a professional hitman.
You think that you should comb through his financial records?
Absolutely.
And, you know, what would you be looking for, though? I mean, he could have a number of different expenses. How would you have any idea what would be for what? I mean, if you're looking for money that might go for a hitman, how would you know what you're looking for?
I don't know the answer to that question. The investigators who are experienced in those kinds of things would know. But I think it's very likely that he's hiding because he did hire a professional to get rid of the evidence.
Well, that's what you think. I mean, there are a lot of people in a Fox News poll that's just out that say that the police in Washington are giving the congressman some special treatment because he's a congressman. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's any question about it.
All right.
But you know, you could also ask the question whether that's just the general incompetence of the Washington, D.C. police. They are terrible at resolving homicides.
All right, David from Minnesota, thanks for the call. Let's go to Texas now. And Elaine, you're up next. Hi, Elaine.
Hi. I think that they are two separate issues. Chandra Levy is missing. That's one issue. And there are also other people, other young women in that area that I understand have been missing for some time.
That's correct.
And then the second issue is her affair with the congressman. And they should be treated separately.
All right, well, what would you do, though, Elaine, if you were one of the investigators, if you were running the show, if you were the chief of police in Washington, what would you be doing right now? Where would you have your men and women, your police
I'd be going back through the other cases of the other missing young women and seeing what things are similar. And I'd also go back. We know that, or we think we know that she went to that park possibly.
Right.
What else happened in that park that day? What was unusual? Somebody saw something. Put that out. Broadcast that. Ask people to come forward that were in the park that day.
All right, Elaine, thanks very much for the call. Let's go to Massachusetts now. And Michael, you're up next. Okay, Michael, you're in charge of the police force in Washington. What do you do?
I'm working under the assumption that when she went to the health club, maybe somebody there saw her cancel her membership and knew she'd be leaving, and maybe followed her back to her house. And it may have been somebody she worked out with, somebody that she knew. That's why she didn't have any problem letting them in.
Yeah, but here's the thing with that, Michael, because she canceled her gym membership, and then the following day, police know that she went onto her computer.
No, they don't know that she went. They know that someone went. And my follow-up to that is they could have very well gotten into her apartment, did something to her, knocked her out, got online, surfed all these places to throw everybody off the trail. I don't think she is at all where they think she's going to be found.
All right, very interesting, Michael. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Florida now. Bob, you're up next. Hi, Bob.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, if I was a chief investigator, I would fold the tent, apologize for the circus I created, and say this is a cold file like anybody else, anywhere else. Like the two little girls in Chicago that are missing are already in a cold file.
You would just give it up?
I would just put it into the cold file. I wouldn't put so many facilities into it. There's other crimes that need solved that these other people could be working on.
Do you think, though, that this case takes on a little bit of extra importance because of the possibility that a congressman may have been involved in all of this?
See, now you said maybe, might be, could be. You know, you can't speculate like that. Either you have a crime or you don't have a crime. You can't just be throwing out a big, gigantic fishnet. It looks ridiculous. We look foolish in the world's eyes over there.
All right. Well, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Thanks for the opinions. And just around the corner on Fox News Live, it's open phone time. We want to know what's on your mind. Anything at all. Chandra, the president's agenda, the weather outside, Deion Sanders' retirement. Give us a shout, 1-888-TEL-FOX, or if you can't get through, you can email us. The internet address is live@foxnews.com.
You're watching Fox News Live with John Gibson. This program is brought to you by Isuzu. Isuzu, go farther.
Hey, nice rock.
My Jeep Grand Cherokee's taking me to the great outdoors.
Good idea. You'll never take that thing off-road. You should get an Isuzu Axiom. It's designed for the real world. 2 suspension modes, 230 horsepower V6 for $1,300 less. Brake lights. And it's got America's longest warranty.
Thanks.
Out here, I'm in command. So am I supposed to say, slow down, guys, I'm constipated? I don't think so. You try to eat right. Sometimes you can't. Harsh chemical laxatives, they can kick in whenever and wherever. Not an option. So I rely on doctor-recommended Metamucil. It's got 100% natural fiber. Works with my body, gently, which is important to a sensitive guy like myself.
Metamucil, the doctor's natural choice for regularity.
Jumping out of planes and rolling out of boats. Being a SEAL is something I've always wanted to do ever since I was a kid.
I'm doing something really cool right now. I'm in charge of a $32 million piece of equipment.
Through the training, you learn to be a lot more driven and focused. I definitely picked the right job.
Well, without the Navy, I wouldn't have had money for college.
My parents were very excited that the Navy was going to pay for 4 years of college.
The Navy has many educational opportunities. I could do anything electrical out in the civilian world.
I never realized I was going to get all the additional high-tech computer training and the travel at the same time.
I've traveled to Philippines, Thailand, Australia, you name it, I've probably been there.
What you've seen is just part of the story. Call this number now for your free 12-minute video and see how the Navy can jumpstart your life. Check out the jobs, training, and money for college that are waiting for you.
If you want an exciting job, this is where you need to be.
Navy, accelerate your life.
Are you losing the battle of the bulge? Then you need the Abdoer system, designed to aerobically burn fat as it flattens your abs in just minutes a day. Look, ab machines strengthen muscles but won't reduce your waist, and some exercises can make your muscles bigger. Only the Abdoer's rotating torso trimmer targets your upper abs, lower abs, and obliques, all in one fat-burning circular motion. You'll flatten your stomach in weeks, not months. We guarantee it.
Before I started using the Abdoer system, I was very unhappy the way I looked. Ever since I started using the Abdoer system, I started seeing immediate results, and I feel so much happier and more confident in everything I do.
These machines cost up to $8,000. The Abdoer does the work of all these machines, and now it can be yours for 6 payments of only $29.95. But wait, call within the next 10 minutes, and we'll make the last payment for you. Plus, you get the Abdovix nutritional guide and motivational video free. We guarantee you'll lose at least 2 inches in just 10 days, or your money back. Order today.
Open phone times. And what's on your mind? We're taking your call, 1-888-TEL-FOX. And our first caller is Dave in California. Hi, Dave.
Hello, Rick. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Oh, not too bad.
What do you want to talk about? What's on your mind?
Well, I was on the condent question. I think, first of all, he should be kicked off of the intelligence gathering subcommittee.
A lot of people are saying that.
Well, if they can't be trusted with their own personal lives, how do we expect them to watch out for the nation's secrets?
Sitting on the Intelligence Committee, you are privy to a lot of very, very secret, private information, and you're right. You're not alone in calling for him to step down from that committee.
And another quick comment on the 401ks. If people will look at the figures, the market started to tank in March of last year, and that was well before Bush had anything to do about it. So, you know, let him try to straighten things out.
Yeah, that's something the White House has been trying to point out for a long time now. And, of course, President Clinton wanted to take credit for the economy starting to improve after he took office. But then, of course, we learned that the economy had actually started to do better in the last few months of the first Bush administration, President Bush's administration. So you're absolutely right to point that out, Dave. Thanks for the call.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Tina now, also in California. Hi, Tina.
Hi.
What's on your mind?
I've just been thinking that if I were running the case, I would get search warrants and go into every apartment in that building. She could very well be held hostage by someone and still be alive.
Yeah, the
but
problem,
no one...
though, with that, Tina, to get a search warrant, you've got to show probable cause, you've got to get permission to go in and do something like that. And the prosecutors, I guess, hadn't felt that they have enough evidence to get that, or they would have asked for it.
Well, I realize that, but searching the park didn't show anything.
No,
Her body hasn't surfaced from the river. She could very well be alive. If it were my daughter, I would want them in every apartment there. Tenants have not come forward.
Yeah, there are some people who live in that building that haven't really been cooperating with the police.
That's it, exactly. I live in a large building, and every time I go out to empty trash, I take my keys, I lock my door. No one saw her leave that building. She could still be there.
And you think the answer to this whole mystery might lie right in her very apartment building?
It could.
Are you up in Modesto, California? Are you anywhere?
No, I'm in Los Angeles.
All right. Well, thanks very much for the call, Tina. We appreciate it. Let's go to New York now, and Lydia, you're on the line. Hi, Lydia.
Hi, Rick.
What's on your mind this afternoon?
Well, I would like to give a comment on the Chandra Levy case. I think the police should further investigate the Hells Angels gang, being that Condit has some connection with that gang. And
that was a story a few weeks ago, Lydia, that was sort of shot down after a while because the congressman had really turned out he had only been to a barbecue where there were a couple of Hells Angel members at the barbecue, and they really weren't able to show that he had any kind of connection to that group at all, other than being in at the same barbecue as they were.
I heard a comment on the possibility of Chandra leaving maybe on a motorcycle with someone that she knew. It's just a comment that I heard, and that could be a possibility, being that they haven't come up with anything during their search through the park. The taxi drivers didn't recognize her. It could be a possibility that there might be a connection there, but we won't know until the investigation goes down further.
Lydia, thanks very much for calling. Staying in New York now, and Antoinette, you're on the line. Antoinette, how you doing?
Good, and yourself?
I'm doing fine, thanks. What's on your mind?
About the Chandra Levy also. I would just question as to, I'm not sure, I haven't been following it that well, but if a woman was to leave her house, why would she just take her keys? And me being a woman, I sometimes leave with my keys just going to the local corner store. Or if you have an argument with somebody in your house and your keys are close by, you take them and just leave that person in the house there. Or you get an emergency phone call that something has happened to a member of your family, where you just leave automatically.
Good points, Antoinette. Thanks very much for the call. We have time for just one more. And Janet in Virginia, you're our last caller. Go ahead. Janet, are you there?
Oh, Janet, yes, I'm here.
Hi, what's on your mind, real
Well,
quickly?
you've got a great show. Okay, first of all, if I were running this investigation, for sure I'd interview all of her co-workers. I don't know if they've done that. Make a better job of interviewing the people in the building, the people in the health club, and the other associations. And as for a cold trail, the only cold trail is Condit. I think that has been a real salacious sex scandal, and now let's go on with the
Janet,
real show.
Thanks very much. Interesting points from all of you. That does it for this edition of Fox News Live with John Gibson. I'm Rick Folbaum in for John. Straight ahead on the most powerful name in news, Mort Kondracki, Fred Barnes, the Beltway Boys are coming up next with all the buzz from Washington. And if you couldn't get through on the phone lines today and you still want to sound off, email us live at foxnews.com, and we'll be reading some of those emails during tomorrow's show. We'll see you back here tomorrow, 4 Eastern. Take it easy.